So, hello out there, YouTube. I'm going to actually be doing a very touchy topic today about honoring and obeying your parents, even if they're abusive. Okay? So, in the Bible, with the Ten Commandments, the first commandment that actually had a promise with it was to obey your parents to honor your parents so that your days may be long. And that's the first commandment that actually had a promise with it. I do want to do maybe a series on this and go more into detail about what I'm talking about and go more in depth because there is so much gray area and everyone's situation is different. And like according to the Bible, like in the Bible, everyone's story is different and each person's individual situation is personalized to match that person in the Bible. So I do want to maybe do a series on this just because this is a touchy topic that not many people dare to talk about nor know the full answer to. So if you would like to share, I would love for all of us who have grown up in this environment and all of those who want to share wisdom on the matter. I'm just going to be speaking from my standpoint, and I do apologize, it's kind of sporadic, but I kind of had an epiphany today that I should probably do this video. And God bless anyone if it helps you out there. So I wanted to be talking about obeying your parents. Now, for those of you who've seen my testimony, it's not my favorite. I don't feel like it's definitely in detail enough, nor describes my story well enough. I was nervous and extremely out of my comfort zone. So I did popcorn through my testimony and through my life. And I was not very proud of the testimony, how I worded it, I guess to say. But pretty much just a small history. I grew up with a very abusive mother, single mother, and a father who was obviously absent until I was about 10. And my mother treated me and my sister very differently. We were both abused, but in separate ways. I was more of the black sheep and hated, especially because I looked like my dad. I was like the punching bag of the family. And my sister was, my mother had a boyfriend who actually molested my sister, and that's the day that I lost respect for my mother. And I wanted nothing to do with her. I didn't respect her. I hated her at the time, and nothing that she said meant anything to me because the man continued to live in the house for years after his crimes against my sister. So, in that predicament, it was rough. It was a rough time. So I guess the first step that I would like to talk about I'm trying to make this video a little short. First step I would definitely say is forgiveness, right? So forgiveness in this scenario means to speak to God and to surrender to God and tell Him that you give yourself to Him and that you want Him to make like clearance in your heart for love. That is first and foremost, because at that point, then God can work inside of you. So you need to surrender because this is a process. Whoever said that you forgiving someone who hurt you would be easy lied. Okay, this is a process. It's very hard. It's your flesh fighting. It's everything that you've ever known. Especially childhood trauma is the worst trauma because it's embedded in the fabrics of your soul. Anything that's been done to you. So it takes a long time to unravel the yokes of evil that have been just yoking you for all these years and embedded into you. So this is a process. So the first step is forgiveness, and in forgiveness, you can speak to the Lord about it and pray that the Lord gives you strength to just to keep your salvation, because nobody's worth your salvation. That's first and foremost. After you pray and you tell the Lord that you've forgiven this person, the devil's going to tempt you. This is something that I've encountered. When I was trying to get close to the Lord initially, when I was about 16 years old, the devil worked through my mother like there was no tomorrow. He was on it. And my mother was she was egging me on. She was enticing me. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, I had a lot of fallbacks. I almost joined a gang. Like it was not the best situation. I'm going to be brutally honest here and say that I did not make the best choices. But I was kind of led to those choices also by my mother. It did not help. But when I gave myself to the Lord, the woman tried to tempt me a lot. And when you rebuke the devil, he will flee. He will flee. Now, I know that there's some children today that still live with abusive parents. And that's where it gets tricky. That's where your walk of God is being tested. I would definitely pray vigorously, just to no avail, with no cease. Pray to the Lord, fast and pray, because some demons can only be broken with a fast. So I would definitely say to fast and to pray. If anything, you need to pray and keep in your word of God. Stay in your word. I did want to talk about as far as honoring or obeying your parents. This is where the gray area also is, okay? It's very tricky because the gray area with your parents is that there are so many questions that people have as far as, what if I can't get away from my parents? How soon should I leave? Putting your hands on your parents, which is not good. I'm not condoning that, please, no. I'm not condoning this. I'm just saying what happens. Things happen in real life. This is real life, what we're talking about. Just having kids of your own and not wanting to expose them to the toxicity of your parents. So many questions. I'm hoping to walk with these questions and find out, even for myself, because I have already forgiven my mother and my father, and I'm still taking that journey. Thank the Lord that He changed me. As for obeying. Now, my mother, although she was not the best, she did teach me the ins and outs of basic survival. Let's just say that. Don't dart into the street. Eat your fruits and vegetables. Just the basic things that a parent should say. Do good in school. Just the basics of life. So these things, I mean, they are a means of survival. That's why you should listen to your parents, because your parents know best. I will say that when I had children, I definitely saw the struggle and the strife of being a parent. It is very difficult. It is very difficult to be a parent, and it's very difficult to raise a child, and it's not necessarily even easy to stay mentally sane sometimes. The world is just going 1,000 miles a minute, but you will start to understand a little more as you grow in wisdom and through each season. Now, I wanted to talk about Romans 13, respect for authority. Everyone must submit to the governing authorities, for all authority comes from God, and those who are in the position of authority have been placed there by God. So this talks about authority being placed there by God, which, if you ask me, that's it talks about a lot of different authorities. That talks about political authorities. That talks about parental authority. That talks about authority as in husband over wife, God over the church, God over the husband. There's many different positions that God has placed in authority. So although your situation may not be the best, they are still your authority. Just like if you have a boss that is not the best boss, he's still regardless your boss. Or if you have a president that's not the best president, he's still your president. So you will treat him as such. That's all that means. Now, Ephesians 6:1 talks about parents have authority over their children. So in that, the Lord talks about authority and to respect all authority, and that parents are in authority of their children. So try your best to walk with Christ, because I know it's hard. I know it's hard when you're in a bad situation with toxic people, toxic parents. Try your best and stay close to God, stay close to the Bible, stay close, because that's the only thing that's going to save you at that point. Of course, if you need to get the authorities involved, such as the police and things of that nature, then of course that's obviously necessary. I also wanted to talk about seasons. So there are different seasons in life. Even the Lord said to pray for your enemies. So the best thing that we can do for our enemies, whether they're our parents or our siblings or whoever our enemy may be, our job is to pray for our sibling or for our parents or for our enemies. Praying for our enemies is just glorious in the Lord's sight, and He will answer our prayers. He will answer our prayers. He's there. He wants to know what's going on. He wants to hear. He already knows what you're going to ask before you even ask it. He just wants you to ask the question. He just wants you to speak to Him and have a great relationship with Him so that He can fix whatever's going on. And like I said, this is a process. The Lord says to guard your heart. There's seasons for everything. There's seasons to, you're always supposed to pray for your enemies. You're always supposed to guard your heart. Especially Christians need to be guarding their hearts, because there's so much evil in this world. And the devil loves to start when people are young, and he wants to just embed these evil thoughts and evil tendencies into our minds and into the fabric of our soul. He wants us to always have these things, these triggers. He wants to mess with us, and we can't allow him to have that. Nothing is worth our salvation. The last topic I wanted to talk about was Lot. Now, this is another season that I've gone through in my life with my mother, in particular, is that I needed to let go of her. I needed to be free of her. At that point, she was so toxic that I needed to just be away from her. She was the ultimate reason why I joined the military. I needed to go away. I needed to be away. And I forgave her and everything, but I could not reach my full potential in in being a follower of Christ when she was near me. Still to this day, I can't be around her for too long. It's not in my best interest for Christianity. And just don't be around people that will hinder your Christianity. If you need to be out, then get out. Stay away from that person. There's nothing wrong with loving them from afar. There's nothing wrong with forgiving them from afar. If that's what needs to be done, then that's what needs to be done. I wanted to talk about Lot in the Bible because Lot, it seems like so many times the Lord tried to get rid of Lot, but Abraham just wanted to keep him right there. And Lot was a mooch. He was there to get everything that Abraham had, and he wanted, give me. And he was just sucking all of the blessings from Abraham. He was dead weight. And sometimes in your life, that's what people are, and they need to be cut. And I'm not saying this in a derogatory sense. I'm saying this in a freeing sense. Sometimes when you cut off that dead weight, you'll feel so free, and it's necessary. It's a necessary thing sometimes. So just food for thought. That's a topic that I come at you guys with today. And if you have any stories of your own, please share. And if you have any scriptures, please share. I love you guys, and I really hope that this helps someone. Bye.